time about how my boyfriend controls everything I do, including the way I dress and even my makeup. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it's sending me on Instagram. My boyfriend and I have been together on and off for a year. From the beginning of the relationship, he started controlling the way that I dressed. He didn't like me wearing any tight clothes, short skirts or crop tops, anything that showed cleavage. He didn't even like me wearing any bathing suits or bikinis to the beach. I had to cover myself with a towel the entire time. This would obviously enrage me, and we would get into really severe fights because of it. I told him I needed a break because I didn't like being controlled. Of course, he got upset and told me that we should just break up. 2 months later, he messaged me on Instagram and we started seeing each other again. But of course, this time I told him that things were going to be different. At first, he agreed that he wouldn't control the way that I dressed, but instead he started controlling things like my hair and my makeup. He didn't want me to wear any makeup, like zero. Anytime we would hang out, he would automatically tell me to take off my lipstick. He said it called too much attention to my face, and he threatened to break up with me because obviously I was wanting attention from other men. That's when I calmly explained to him that I wore makeup for myself and not for anyone else. Not even for him. Then he did the unthinkable. He grabbed a handful of my makeup and threw it into the toilet. Part 2 is up. That's when he grabbed a handful of my expensive makeup and threw it into the toilet. Disclaimers in my story time. Then he basically told me that he forbade me from ever wearing makeup again. That's when he also told me that he wanted me to close down my Instagram and that there were too many men commenting on my pictures telling me how beautiful I was. He told me I needed to grow up and become more mature instead of looking for men online. I told him that he was being jealous and insecure. That's when he got really mad. He told me the only person that I should want to look good for is him. Then he went around my bedroom looking for my makeup. He was in such a rage that I was afraid he was going to do something to me. Then he found my curling and straightening iron. He started trying to break them against my desk. That's when I told him I needed him to leave, and that if he didn't leave, I would call the cops. He started laughing at me and told me that no cop would take me seriously. But he did end up leaving. We didn't speak for 3 weeks until he called me apologizing. I told him that there was no way I could accept him back into my life because he was too controlling. Then he asked me out for dinner, telling me he wanted to apologize to me. At this point, I still had feelings for him, so I said yes. And guess what? We ended up getting back together. But things only got worse. Part 3 is up. Part 3 of how my boyfriend controls everything I do, including the way that I dress. I made the mistake of taking him back for a second time. For the first few weeks, he was on his best behavior. We would go out to dinners and I would dress really cute and do my makeup and hair. Obviously, I could tell that it bothered him, but he was making an effort not to say anything or cause any fights. Here's when things get worse. My best friend had planned a whole party for my birthday. She even got a band and catering. I decided I wanted to buy a beautiful outfit. So my best friend and I go shopping. My boyfriend asked me if he could tag along and I had no choice but to say yes. As we were shopping, he started making little comments about dresses that I picked. He would say things like, "Wow, that's really short." Obviously, I didn't want to make a scene in front of my best friend, so I just ignored his comments. I finally chose a backless dress. It was so beautiful and I loved it so much. When I tried it on, my best friend complimented me, but all my boyfriend said was, "You look like a slut." That's when all hell broke loose. My best friend got right up in his face and told him that he couldn't come to the party. Of course, he got right up in her face too. He started attacking her with words. He told her she was a wannabe Kardashian, but that she would never be as beautiful. This all happened in like 10 seconds. I told my boyfriend to leave and he did. I asked him not to come to my birthday party, but he did anyway. As soon as he saw me, he pulled me aside and told me to change. And he even brought me this horrible dress to put on. That's when I had security kick him out. I called his mother and told her everything. And she's furious because she loves me. How should I break up with him?
Me and my ex-fiance have been together for almost 6 years and engaged for about 4 of those 6 years. I was introduced to her by a close friend at a party and we just clicked. She was attractive, had a great personality, and had similar hobbies as me, which made it perfect. Back in April of this year, I started noticing little changes in her. She started wearing more revealing clothes to work, started putting on more makeup, and etc. To be honest, I had no problem with any of that stuff as it's her body. But what made things worse for me was when she started coming home late from work, or how instead of spending the weekend off with me, since we both had weekends off from work, she instead would always go out. I once had asked her why she never invited me to come out with her, to which she replied it's only girls' night out, and her other friends would not be happy if I tagged along as they were not bringing their own BF with them. It all came crashing down when me and her had a huge fight in June because she had decided instead of going out on a date with me, she told me how she had already made plans with her friends and that it was rude of her to cancel. That was it for me. I fucking blew up on her and we had a huge fight, which resulted in her packing her bags and leaving. I didn't hear from her for almost a week. None of her friends knew where she was going, and heck, none of her folks even knew what was going on until she finally contacted me and wanted to talk. Imagine my surprise when she confessed to me that there was another guy involved and how all this time she was hanging out with him and lying to me about hanging with her friends. I fucking blew up. I wanted nothing to do with her and was going to break up with her until she got on her knees and begged me to give her a second chance, which my dumbass self did, but only after she revealed everything to me. It made me sick to my fucking stomach, but in the end, I forgave her and told her to delete all contact with the guy and that I expect her to have no contact with him going forward, which she promised, and things kind of went back to before. We were even spending more time together, but that feeling, that trust wasn't there anymore. Everything was kind of okay until 2 weeks ago when a friend of mine who was visiting another city, which was 3 hours from where I live, sent me a picture and message saying, "Sorry bro." That broke my already broken heart into a billion little pieces. The picture was of my ex-fiance at a mall 3 hours away from where we lived holding hands with some stranger who I didn't know. I fucking broke down. I was heartbroken. I was so mad because I thought she was at work while in reality she was 3 hours away holding hands with her lover. When I got home from work, I waited for her and decided that I was going to confront her when she got home. Part 2, my ex did something terrible because I wouldn't take her back and now I'm being blamed for everything. When I got home from work, I waited for her and right away confronted her, to which she denied and called me a psycho for not believing her. She also said that I was a piece of shit for not trusting her until I showed her a picture that my friend sent me. Her face told me everything, and that's when the waterworks started, and I knew that I had made a huge mistake in taking her back, so I ended it. She cried and begged me to think it over and not throw away everything that we have together, which made me really angry, and I'm not gonna lie, but I hit her. I wasn't proud, I'm still not, but saying shit like not to throw everything away when it was her who threw everything away pissed me off to the max. I told her to pack her shit and leave, called her parents and mine and told them everything. Her parents came to help her and I told them basically basically to F off after they told me to think it over and to make the right decision before actually ending it. She begged me again not to end things, but I had to for my own peace of mind. I didn't hear from her or her parents until 3 days ago when my parents called me to let me know that my ex-fiance had unalived herself. Her parents found her and she had left a letter apologizing to everyone, including my parents and me. She said she's sorry from the bottom of her heart for what she did to me and that she can't live without me and that's why she ended it. I'm at a fucking loss. My ex-fiance's friends and family are blaming me and my own mother told me that it was my fault. She told me that I should have forgiven her since I'm clearly worth committing blank over. I need some serious advice as I'm pretty much being cornered by basically everyone and I really don't know what else to do. Is this all really my fault?
Story time about how I caught my boyfriend cheating on me with my dad's girlfriend. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. My boyfriend and I had been together for 5 months. We met through Instagram, of course. Now my dad and his girlfriend have been together for 2 years. They have a really toxic relationship. She constantly tries to make him jealous, and my dad does not trust her at all. My dad has a lot of money and women always want to date him. I mean, he has options. He doesn't need to be with this woman. When they first moved in together, my dad had a Rolex and several $1,000s go missing. He also caught her snooping around his desk one time. She denied having stolen anything, and she threatened my dad to break up with him. Of course, my dad begged her to stay. My dad's girlfriend, let's call her Annie. Annie and I started going out together. She's 10 years older than me, so we got along pretty well. My dad would ask me to keep an eye on her every time we went out. But without fail, she would flirt with every single guy at the bar. But I didn't have the heart to tell my dad. Eventually, I met my future boyfriend and we hit it off right away because we both love Harry Potter. Of course, Annie wanted to go out with us all the time. One day, I come home early from school and I find them on the couch, doing very dirty things to each other. They were full on making out. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Part 2 is up. I walk in to find my boyfriend and my dad's girlfriend full on making out on the couch. Disclaimer, is not my story time. My instinct was to pull out my phone and start recording. So I did. I knew that when I told my dad, she would deny it. So I wanted to have solid proof of this. I've been with my boyfriend for 5 months at this point. I can't say I knew him 100%, but I never expected him to cheat on me with my dad's girlfriend. Finally, my boyfriend goes to take off his shirt and sees me. He freaks out. He basically throws her off of him and she lands on the floor. That's when she starts laughing and says that they were just playing a joke on me. No, you weren't. My boyfriend told her to shut up. He then straight up ran away from my house. He told me he never wanted to see me or my effed up family again. I'm the effed up one? When my dad got home, I showed him the video of his girlfriend making out with my boyfriend. My dad went up the stairs, packed her bags, and threw her out of the house. It was raining, by the way, and he took away her car keys because he had bought her a new Tesla. But she denied everything. Part 3 is up. After my dad kicked her out, she sat in the rain with all of her bags. She kept denying that she cheated on him with my boyfriend, even though I had video proof of it. Okay, so here's the really messed up part. My dad ended up taking her back. She came back and begged him for forgiveness. And when he took her back, I just cried. It's as if she put a spell on my dad. He even gave her back the Tesla he bought her. Now that she's back in the house, I can't stand to see her. So my dad is getting me my own apartment. I love living with my dad, but I can't stand that woman. My apartment is so beautiful. I get tons of natural sunlight, and I have my friends over all the time. A little update on my ex. Remember he told me to never contact him again? He asked one of my friends for my address and they gave it to him. Yes, I was very angry at my friend, by the way. He showed up to my apartment and begged me for forgiveness. He told me that I was the best thing that ever happened to him and that he was really sorry. I asked him why he cheated on me with my dad's girlfriend, and he told me that she just has this thing, and that for some reason guys are just super attracted to her. I mean, I think this woman is a witch. He told me he couldn't control it. I'm actually considering giving him a second chance. I know I shouldn't, but I still like him. He bought me a Chanel bag and has been bringing me food every single day. I hate myself for wanting to take him back. What should I do?
I'm 34 and got married to my wife Claire 2 years ago. She has a 6-year-old daughter, my stepdaughter, that she shares custody of with her ex-husband Adam. So Adam hasn't dated anyone since him and Claire got separated. Claire always talked about how this was a good thing because she believes that my stepdaughter is better off without a witch stepmom to boss her around and abuse her. Then Adam started seeing his now girlfriend about 8 months ago. Claire wasn't happy about it, and in fact, she was livid that Adam introduced my stepdaughter to his girlfriend so soon. Claire demanded meetings with Adam's girlfriend to test and see what kind of stepmom she'd be for my stepdaughter. I didn't give it much attention because of the drama and always having mother-in-law involved as well. However, very recently I found out that Claire installed several cameras in Adam's house while he and his girlfriend were away on a trip. Claire had a key to Adam's house because most of my stepdaughter's stuff is there. Keep in mind that I found out by looking at the chat with Claire and my mother-in-law, so she wasn't on it too. It bothered me because it's a total breach of privacy, but when I confronted Claire, she said that she did this because Adam's girlfriend was going to move in soon and she wanted to see how she treats my stepdaughter. I told her this was wrong, but she said it's all temporary until Adam's girlfriend is in the clear. I still wasn't convinced and suggested that she remove the cameras because of huge legal troubles once Adam finds out, but she lost her temper on me, saying I should stay out of it because I clearly don't care about my stepdaughter's well-being and happiness. But she had no evidence or even reason to believe that Adam's girlfriend may mistreat my stepdaughter. Claire just said that she wants to double check, and Adam does not need to know. However, I disagreed and said that I'd tell him if she wouldn't remove the cameras, which made her lose it on me. She tried to get my mother-in-law to shut me down to get me to stay in my lane, but I couldn't. Claire said that if I tell Adam, we're gonna have a problem and urged me to mind my own business because Adam isn't more important than my relationship with her. I still want to tell him, but given Claire's reaction, I'm gonna get hell for this and it may not be worth it since me and Adam aren't even on good terms. Am I the asshole for wanting to tell my stepdaughter's dad about the cameras my wife planted in his house while he was away?
Story time about how a crazy man broke into my hotel room and tried to essay me. I'm a very successful businesswoman. I own a PR company and travel a lot for work. Because I'm addicted to work, I never gave myself enough time to meet anybody or even have a family. I'm in my early 40s and I'm actually really happy with the way my life has turned out. I live in Los Angeles, but I usually travel to New York every single month. I have a lot of clients there and I always take advantage and stay a few days for myself. I usually always stay at the same hotel, but it just so happens that on this trip there was no availability, so I decided to book another hotel in Manhattan. This was a really nice hotel, by the way. The reviews on the hotel were amazing. I finally arrived in New York and went straight to my hotel. They upgraded me to a better room. The hotel even had a gym and a sauna. I decided to do a 30-minute workout. While I'm on the treadmill, another hotel guest comes in. Obviously, I had no intention of making conversation with this guy. I barely made any eye contact with him, but I could definitely feel him looking at me. I'm sure you girls know that feeling. I did 15 more minutes of my workout and then left. But most of the time I could see him staring at me. But I wasn't about to let him ruin my workout. As I start heading out of the gym, he stops me and asks me if I'm staying in the hotel. By the way, I'm wearing a face mask, so he can't really see my entire face. I asked him why he wanted to know, and he said that he would like to take me out to dinner. I said thank you, I'm not interested, and I quickly left. Instead of taking the elevator, I walked up the stairs 2 floors to my room. Obviously, I was trying to make sure that this guy wasn't following me, but I also wanted the exercise. I made sure to look behind me to see if he wasn't following me, and he didn't. I decided to order room service and jump into the shower. While I'm in the shower, I hear a knock on the door. I didn't think it was room service because I had just ordered. I get out of the shower and look through the peephole and see nobody. I thought someone probably knocked on my door by mistake, so I got back into the shower. 25 minutes later, room service arrives with my food. When I open the door, the server comes in with his cart. But out of the corner of my eye, I see the same guy from the gym standing by the elevators, and he was looking straight into my room. I was in my robe and he could probably tell that I was by myself. I quickly closed the door and the server asked me if I was okay. I told him what had happened in the gym and that the guy was standing right outside by the elevators. The server opened the door and checked and he said there was nobody there. Then he told me to lock my door and not worry about it because it was a really safe hotel. He leaves and I sit down to eat my dinner. Suddenly there's another knock on the door. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how a crazy man broke into my hotel room to try to essay me. When I heard the second knock on the door, I looked through the peephole, but there was nobody there. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I sent me on Instagram. I knew it had to be the guy that hit on me at the gym, so I decided to call downstairs and let the hotel know what was going on. Like I said in part 1, this hotel is really expensive, exclusive, and pretty safe. I told the staff what was happening. They asked me if I wanted to move to another room, so I said yes. They helped me move all my stuff to another room on another floor. I felt so much better in this new room. I went to bed at about 11, but woke up to another knock on my door at 2 a.m. I turned on the light quickly, but the knock had stopped. All of a sudden, I hear someone pushing on the door. Within a few seconds, the door opens and the man comes in. It was the same guy from the gym. He was dressed in a black suit and had his phone in one hand. Unfortunately, I was frozen. I felt like I couldn't move myself. This lasted about 10 seconds. Finally, when I came to, I jumped out of the bed and moved far away from him. I pressed myself into a corner and grabbed the lamp. That's when he grabbed a seat, pulled it up beside me, and sat down. He told me that all he wanted was to take me out to dinner, and that because I was rude, I needed to be taught a lesson. Also, this guy was not from the US. He had a strange accent. Then he told me that where he comes from, women obey men. And the whole time he was sitting there talking, he was so calm. Then he asked me to sit down on the bed. I knew where this was going and I had to do something. I decided to just treat him like a friend. I chuckled and told him I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to be rude. Then I told him I was happy to go on the date now, and that I was really hungry. Part 3 is up. Part 2 of how a crazy man broke into my hotel room to try to essay me. He told me to sit down on the bed. I knew I needed to do something. I began to act friendly and told him that I was finally ready to go on the date. That's when he said that it was too late, that I had already disrespected him and that I must be taught a lesson. Then I just began complimenting him. Told him he was really handsome and that he dressed really well. And it would be a shame for us not to go out considering how good he looked. And it actually started to work. He asked me if I had a dinner dress and I said yes. Then he told me to put it on in front of him. I quickly got dressed and then he started walking toward me. This is when he grabbed my hand and kissed it. Then he kissed me. He turned around to go grab his phone, but that's when I just bolted out of the room. Started running down the stairs, didn't look back, and finally made it to the lobby. I described the man to them, but they told me that there was no one staying at the hotel that looked like that. They searched the hotel but didn't find anything. Finally, the cops came, but they didn't find him either. They took samples of fingerprints but found that he had none. He had filed off his fingerprints. At least they knew that I wasn't telling a lie. They looked through the hotel cameras, but he never showed his face. To this day, they haven't found him. I'm scared of staying at hotels on my own now. What should I do? Storytime about how my husband hired a really hot assistant and now I want him to fire her, but he won't. Am I the asshole? Disclaimer, this is not my storytime. It's sending me on Instagram. My husband and I have been together for 4 years. Now, I've never suspected him of cheating, but I have caught him lying to me a few times. A few years back, I checked his Facebook Messenger and caught him messaging another girl. The messages weren't exactly inappropriate, but they were definitely flirty. When I asked him if he was messaging anyone on Facebook, he denied it. That's when I unleashed the beast and told him that I had seen the messages. That's when he told me that he wanted to break up because he didn't want to stop messaging her. This was some random girl that he had met at his job. We actually did break up for a few days, but then he literally begged me on his knees to stay with him. Then I caught him lying a second time. He told me he was going out to dinner with a friend of his who I already knew, and it was a woman. I had no problem with him going out to dinner with her because we already knew each other from a few years back. At the time, I was away for work. After 8 hours, he still hadn't messaged me. I decided to call him, but he didn't answer. That's when I tracked his location and realized that he was somewhere in the city. He finally messaged me telling me that he was home and he was trying to get to sleep. I took a screenshot of his location and sent it to him. Then he called me begging me for forgiveness. He told me he thought I'd probably get jealous if he knew that he was still with her. Obviously, I wasn't gonna get jealous, it was just more upsetting that he lied to me. All of that was a few years ago. Since then, he's always been on his best behavior. About a year ago, my husband started a new company and it's been very successful. So successful that he's hired a full staff. Up until now, all of them have been men. But about a week ago, he told me he needed an assistant. That's when I told him I knew a friend of mine who needed a job. This woman is much older than us and would never be interested in my husband. But my husband told me that he was looking for somebody younger and someone that was interested in the field of work. A few days after that, he had finally hired somebody. I didn't really think anything of it though. By the way, I work in financing, so I'm usually working from home. My husband and I usually meet up for lunch, so I decided to go pick him up from work. But when I got there, a young hot girl asked me if I had an appointment to see my own husband. I told her I was the owner's wife and she laughed it off. She then apologized really quickly but didn't really mean it. Let me tell you how this girl was dressed. She wore a crop top and super tight leggings. She also had a full face of makeup on and her hair was freshly curled. It looked like she was dressed to go to a club. Or at least trying to impress someone. Part 2 is up. Part 2, am I the asshole for wanting my husband to fire his hot assistant? Disclaimers and on my Storytime is sending me an Instagram. After I told her I was the owner's wife, she made sure to stand up and show off her body to me. That's when I saw how tight all her clothes were. She then waltzed into my husband's office and tells him that I'm there. My husband quickly came out, almost running, and I asked him if everything was okay. That's when he said, yes, I just wanted to introduce you to my new assistant. Her name is Anna. Anna and I shook hands and I could feel that her palms were sweaty. That's when I knew something was up. My husband told her that she could leave for the day since he was going to be gone for a few hours. And guess what? She insisted on staying until he got back. And it's like she was doing it all because I was there. When my husband and I finally got into the car, I told him that I wanted him to fire her. He started to laugh and asked me why. I told him that the way she was dressed was incredibly inappropriate and that it looked like she was about to go party with all the makeup and hair that she had on. And of course, he told me I was overreacting and that he wouldn't fire her. Then he kissed me and reassured me that he wasn't even attracted to her. I asked him why he hired her and he told me that she was really smart and fast. Then I told him that if he didn't fire her, that him and I would have problems. He got in a bad mood for the rest of the day. Part 3 is up. Part 3, am I the asshole for wanting my husband to fire his hot assistant? Disclaimers and on my Storytime is sending me an Instagram. After the second time I told him to fire her, he once again said no and got in a really bad mood for the rest of the day. That's when I told him that it was clear that she had a thing for him and that she was obviously dressing up and putting on all that makeup and hair just for him. He told me that she had a boyfriend and that she wasn't interested in him like that. But I don't believe it at all. You know, women's intuition? From the moment I met her, I got the feeling she was trying to show off her body and her palms were sweaty as in she was nervous. That's when I decided I would go to my husband's office every single day. And guess what? I decided to dress up too. I put on a sexy outfit to pick up my husband the following day, and she was dressed in the exact same way. Super tight leggings, crop top, and showing off cleavage. Her hair and makeup were done again. As soon as she saw me coming into the office, she gave me a really dirty look. I asked her if anything was wrong and she said no. I couldn't help myself and I told her that the way she looked at me was weird. Then she apologized and told me that she didn't mean anything by it. My husband came out of his office and told me that Anna, his assistant, had already brought him lunch and that he didn't need to go to lunch with me. I was furious. I gave my husband a kiss and went home. I insisted once again that he needed to fire her later and he said no. So guess what I did? I got myself a really hot personal trainer. Of course, my husband got really jealous. I told him that I wouldn't stop working out with him until he fires his assistant. He thinks I'm being terrible for wanting him to fire her, but I don't trust that girl one bit. And I can't say I trust my husband 100%. Am I the asshole? Anyway, my trainer has been flirting with me hardcore. I'm planning on making my husband as jealous as possible. Bye.
This is gonna be a story time of when my stepbrother killed our dog and fed it to me and my little sister for dinner. Let's get right into it. So my mom had died when I was younger and my dad had remarried. So I had a stepmom and she had a son. This motherfucker, let me tell you, we did not get along. I fought with him all the time, but it's because he was a little bitch. He would always bully me and my little sister and make fun of our weight. He would threaten to beat us up just for fun. Like, you in our house, get it together. I began to scold my dad because he was the one who brought them in this fucking house and he wasn't doing nothing about it. He knew they were tearing our family apart and he did nothing. So, anyways, one night, my parents weren't home and my stepbrother had to watch me and my little sister. Like I said, he was a little bitch, so he was upset because he had plans to hang out with his girlfriend. But that really sounds like a personal problem. Let me stop coming at this man. It's just making me angry thinking about it. So my dad had sent my stepbrother money so he could go get groceries so he could make us dinner. But my stepbrother didn't want to, so he sent me instead. Oh, mind you, I was like 12 at the time. And he sent me alone, and my little sisters were sleeping. When I came home and knocked on the door, I noticed that our dog didn't run up to see who was at the door like she usually did. Then I smelled something coming from the kitchen, like for part 2. This is gonna be part 2 of how my stepbrother killed our dog and fed it to me and my little sister for dinner. So like I said, I got home from the grocery store and our dog didn't run up to the door like she usually did. I didn't think much of it, and then I smelled something coming from the kitchen. What could he possibly be cooking if there's no groceries? And no, I didn't automatically think, oh, he's cooking our dog. Just hold on. Whatever was cooking on the stove smelled like shit. It made the whole house stink, but like I said, I didn't think too much of it. Now that I think of it, I heard the laundry machine going and my family had a set schedule for laundry. Like, we never did laundry off schedule, so that was kind of weird. My parents are just very organized people, besides the point. So I go upstairs to wake up my little sister and I see my stepbrother pass me and go down to the kitchen. An hour or so goes by and he calls us downstairs and says dinner is ready. All he did was boil some corn, give us canned peas, and some slab of meat. The meat was burnt, by the way, but I guess food is food. So So we started eating this atrocious meal, and all I could think about were these tiny little hairs that just kept going in my mouth. I kept pulling pieces out my mouth. Mind you, this hair had no color. It was burnt. Now our dog loved to eat dinner with us, but she was nowhere to be seen. I started looking for her and I realized that she's missing. This is gonna be part 3 of the time my stepbrother killed our dog and fed it to us for dinner. So like I said, I started looking around for the dog. I asked my little sister if she's seen her. She said no. So I asked my stepbrother and he says no too. Somebody fucking lie. Who the fuck is lying? Cause it ain't fucking me. Let me fucking stop. Okay, so we trying to find this dog. I call my dad. He says she probably ran away, but no one let her outside that day. And I know she didn't just go outside. So the days pass and we're still looking for her, and we hang up missing posters. I got my friends to help me. My dad's looking, my stepmother, my little sister, and even my stepbrother. As time goes on, my little sister and I began to fall sick. We go to the doctor. They say we have stomach problems. They said it was probably from something that we ate. And I'm thinking to myself, what abnormal thing did I eat? That random slab of meat. Because there was no groceries. Where the fuck did he find that meat from? So I'm putting pieces together. You know, we're falling sick. The meat was hairy. Our dog is missing. Eventually, my dad ends up finding the dog, but it was dead and cut up. This is gonna be part 4 of the time my stepbrother cooked our dog and fed it to me and my little sister for dinner. So my dad ends up finding our dog hidden under some sticks in our backyard, but it was dead and cut into pieces. I might have been 12, but I wasn't dumb. I knew what the fuck was going on. So once my dad brings us this news, after he's done telling us what he found, I pulled him to the other room. I told him what I peeped. I was sobbing and I told him I think it was my stepbrother who did it. I told him about the dog not meeting me at the door, the smell of the kitchen, the hairs, the laundry, the fact that we got sick. I gave him all the puzzle pieces, but he told me that he didn't believe me. He said, and I quote, "Your stepbrother might be mean to you, but he's not crazy." I said, because it's right there. It is right in front of you. Like, the evidence speaks for its fucking self. I ain't gotta say too much. So my dad ends up not doing anything to my stepbrother. He faced literally 0 consequences. I'm 19 now and I don't talk to him anymore. Till this day, I 110% believe that my stepbrother did it.
Storytime about how I stole my best friend's boyfriend and she ended up poisoning me. This is not my storytime, it's on Instagram. I met my ex-best friend 10 years ago. We hit it off right away in school and were inseparable. But shortly into our friendship, I noticed how jealous and envious she was. She envied my life and everything that I had. I got lots of attention from boys and she didn't. Every time we would go out, I was the one constantly getting hit on. It actually made me feel so bad for her. I stopped dressing up whenever we would hang out, and I even stopped wearing makeup just to make her feel better. She asked me if I was doing that on purpose and I told her no. I told her I just wanted to feel more natural and that it had nothing to do with her. But this actually started working. That's when she started borrowing my clothes and my makeup. She didn't even know how to use makeup, so I would do it for her. Every single weekend that we would go out, she would look really amazing. I would do her makeup and her hair and dress her up before we went out. Usually I would go in jeans and a t-shirt and not do anything to my hair or my face. But like I said, I only did this when I would go out with her. Whenever I went out with other friends, I would always look my best. But it actually started to work. Instead of me getting hit on at the bars and clubs, she would get hit on. And this made her feel so much better. And it actually made me really happy too. She started going on a few dates, and she had really good guys interested in her. One of the guys was in financing, owned a house, and traveled a lot, and was good looking too. The other one owned his own business, was good looking, really tall, and wanted kids right away. He would basically tell her that he wanted to marry her. But instead of being interested in them, she wanted to date more guys. She became a serial dater. Before I knew it, every single weekend I would go to her house to help her get ready for her dates, which by the way would take me 2 to 3 hours to do her hair, makeup, and outfit. But like I said, I was happy to help her. On one occasion, I told her I couldn't come over to do her makeup and her hair because I had a date of my own. She told me I was ungrateful and hung up the phone on me. I was shocked by her behavior. While I was on my date, she called me 10 times. When I answered, she demanded to know where I was. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how I stole my best friend's boyfriend and she ended up poisoning me. Disclaimer, it's not my story time, send me on Instagram. After I see her 10 missed calls while I was on my date, I finally call her back. And when I answered, all she asked me was where I was. I told her I was on my date and that I couldn't talk. That's when she told me that she would just bring the makeup to where I was so that I could help her do her makeup for her date. I was so angry that I decided to defend myself. I told her she was being a brat and super ungrateful. Then I told her I was gonna hang up on her and not talk to her for the next few days. I decided to turn off my phone for the rest of the night. Finally, a few days later, I decided to call her. That's when she gives me a half-ass apology telling me she shouldn't have done that and that she was acting like a brat. That's when I told her I didn't want to do her makeup and hair every single weekend. She said she would learn how to do her own makeup if I could just teach her. So of course I agreed. After that, things got way better between us. She actually ended up becoming girlfriend with one of the guys, the one that was the business owner. She insisted that we do a double date. So I ended up having a date come with me to dinner with them. We were having fun up until my best friend started getting really drunk. This is when she just started acting out. She started telling the guys about how much I would get hit on and about all the dates I've been on, about how many sexy time partners I had. I mean, this is girl code. You do not talk about exes or guys that your girlfriend is dating to her boyfriend or date. I was so angry with her. Her boyfriend looked at me, apologized, and said that he would take her home. So my date and I decided to stay at the restaurant and finish our dinner. Then I get a message from my best friend's boyfriend apologizing on her behalf. He asked me if he could call me on the phone and we talked for an hour. Part 2 is up. Part 3 of how I stole my best friend's boyfriend and she ended up poisoning me. Disclaimer, is not my story time, send me on Instagram. My BF's boyfriend called me. He apologized for my best friend's behavior while she was drunk. I told him that I would talk to her whenever she was sober. Before I knew it, he and I had been on the phone for a full hour. He was making me laugh so much and we were having such a great conversation. We finally got off the phone and I literally had butterflies in my stomach. And I started thinking about him differently. I mean, I knew that he was my best friend's boyfriend, but he was being so nice. And he was successful and funny and good looking. That's when I decided to cut my best friend off. I stopped answering her texts and phone calls. One day she showed up at my house asking me if I could help her get ready for another date. I told her that I didn't want to be her friend anymore and basically slammed the door in her face. She kept calling me to apologize and eventually I accepted. But her boyfriend and I didn't stop texting. I started to realize that I was falling for him, so I decided to tell him that I had feelings and that we shouldn't talk anymore. That's when he told me that he had feelings for me too. All this while, I would still hang out with my best friend every single weekend. She would bring me food and make us drinks while she was at my place. I started feeling different symptoms after a few weeks. I would get these really bad headaches and I just felt sick all the time. I decided to go to the doctor and they couldn't find anything. One day her boyfriend calls me and tells me that he really wants to see me. He comes over to my house and we kissed. He told me that he wanted to break up with her to be with me. I couldn't resist and I said yes. When we confronted her, she said that she had seen our messages already. She called me a bunch of names and told me that she had been poisoning me. First I didn't believe her, but then I went and got tested and it was true. I haven't spoken to her since and I don't know if I should tell the cops. Him and I are still together. What should I do?
So I, 32, have been married to my husband, 34, for 6 years. Before we got married, he had me sign a prenup stating that our financials would always be separate and the only thing that we would share was an expense account to pay for our household-related fees. The reason for this was because he was making pretty good money and I was in graduate school, so my financial situation was pretty bad, but I signed nonetheless because I understood he wanted to protect himself. Anyway, fast forward to now, I've been out of school for 4 years and I make more than 3 times as much as he does. I've never asked him how much he makes and he's never asked me either. Anyway, 2 weeks ago I told him that I was thinking about buying a new car as the one I had was really old since I had it since my undergraduate days. He wasn't really interested and he just told me to get whatever I liked. So a week ago I decided to make a plunge and get an Audi. I was pretty excited as I always wanted one. At the time, my husband was on a business trip and he got back yesterday. I showed him my car and he was really happy for me. However, later he asked me what my monthly payments were as the Audi was pretty new. At this point, I told him that I made the purchase in cash and that I had no monthly payments. He was taken back and asked with what money, and I answered that I made more than enough to be able to afford it. He didn't talk after that and I thought that was that. However, a few hours later, he came back to me and told me that he thinks we should void the prenup. This is where I might be the asshole because I laughed in his face. I asked him why I would agree to do that and his answer was that we're married and should share our financials. So I told him we've been married for 6 years and yet we've never shared our financials and I was fine with what we were doing. And his sudden change of heart was very suspicious. He called me a bunch of names and stormed out and didn't come home, and I guess he told his family about our fight. They called to berate me and say how he supported me while I was in school. He didn't, and now I'm wondering if I was an asshole. So am I the asshole for laughing in my husband's face? Part 2, I laughed in my husband's face when he asked to void the prenup. I called into work and took a week off. I'm an independent contractor, so I didn't sign any new contracts. I sat my husband down and suggested that we should see a therapist. He refused. I asked him why he wanted to avoid the prenup. He said because he wanted to combine finances. So I asked to see his bank accounts, and he had been misusing his money and was virtually broke. He basically had less than half of what I spent on my Audi. He had also made a series of bad investments and had apparently sold his property that he owned in NE, but most of his money went to his gambling habit. I knew he gambled, but not at the rate that I saw. I asked where we went from here if he didn't want to go to marriage counseling. He replied that since I made more, he should quit his job and follow his dreams. He wants to be a professional gambler? Is that a thing? I don't know whose money he thinks he's going to use to finance that. I asked him who would support him while he was following his dreams. Since he hadn't supported me, I would also not be supportive. My parents helped me out with the bills while I was in grad school. He flipped out and said that I was lucky to have him and that he should have dumped me for a younger woman. I replied that I should have dumped him for a younger man. I know it was childish, but I couldn't help it. He also said that it was unnatural for me to be making more than he was and that we should have at least 3 kids by now. I confessed that I also lost my shit and told him that the only younger women who would date him were the drunk or desperate ones because he had crazy written all over him. After the whole fiasco, I packed my bags, went to some friend's house, got the number for a good divorce attorney from a friend, and I will meet with him this week and hopefully start the process. I texted my soon-to-be ex that I was filing. His response? He was never going to sign the divorce papers and I was stuck with him whether I liked it or not. Honestly, everything happened so fast that I'm still in shock. I don't even know if I overreacted by talking about divorce so fast. So there's the update. I'm not sure what comes next, but thanks for everything.
Storytime of the sickest I felt in my whole life. You might want to hold your breath for this one. My boyfriend and I had been dating for like 8 months or so. I had my own place, so I let him move in with me. One day, my best friend decides that she wants to become a hairdresser, and so she started taking clients and doing people's hair. I became one of her clients because she did hair really good, and she didn't charge me as much because I was her bestie. Whenever I needed her to do my hair, she would come over to my place. Well, over time, my best friend and my boyfriend began to become closer. I didn't think anything of it because I trusted my best friend and my boyfriend. Sometimes my best friend and my boyfriend would be alone together because if she was doing my hair that day and I wasn't home, I would make my boyfriend open the door for her. She could just go ahead and walk on in, get her stuff set up, and then once I was there, she could do my hair. Like I said, I trusted them enough, so I wasn't worried about it. Bitch, I should have been worried about it. One night, my boyfriend tells me that he's gonna be working a little late that night. So, I'm like, okay, that's fine. So that night, I was just sitting on my bed scrolling through my socials. Then I opened Snapchat. I'm watching my best friend's story, and she had made a brand new private story. She added me to that story, and there was a picture of my best friend and my boyfriend in bed together. And be part 2 of the sickest I felt in my whole life. The pain in my chest when I saw the picture of my best friend and my boyfriend in bed together. I started heaving. I was wheezing, like, so I was thinking to myself whether I should slide up and say anything, or if I should pull up to her house and whoop her ass. It had to have been at her house because that man had no place to go. That's why he was living with me. This man is over here homie hopping. Meanwhile, he don't even got a home. Although I was very upset, I was surprisingly calm. I decided that I'm not gonna pull up and beat both of their asses. I decided that I was just gonna take his stuff and throw it out the door. And as I'm walking to his room, I hear what sounds like a window is opening. And it sounds like it's coming from my boyfriend's room. So I keep walking to his room to check out whatever this sound is. I walk in there. And there my best friend and my boyfriend are sleeping on the bed that I bought him in my house. Bitch, like for part 3. This is gonna be part 3 of the sickest I felt in my entire life. Like I said, I walked in the room and saw my best friend and my boyfriend sleeping. I'm like, okay, we taking naps. We taking naps, bitch, in my fucking house. Let's take a fucking nap, then I'm gonna put both of y'all to sleep. So my boyfriend actually looked like he was sleeping, but I could tell that my best friend was faking it. She had just posted that snap only 10 minutes ago. It was clearly intended for me to see. So I walk up to the bed. I go over to where my boyfriend is sleeping, and when I tell you, I smacked the shit out that there, whacked that nigga like I was trained for it. Meanwhile, my best friend's over there like, oh my god. I'm like, bitch, I'm about to get to you. But right now, we focusing on him. But I'm gonna get to you, I promise. So I lift the covers off of them, and I see that they're both naked. So that's really when I started pouncing on him, scratching him, biting him, you know, all that good stuff. Meanwhile, my best friend's over there trying to put her clothes on so she could go. Girl, you ain't going nowhere. Because after I was done pouncing on him, I charged towards her. Like for part 4. This is gonna be part 4 of the sickest that I felt in my whole life. So I had just gotten done beating up my boyfriend after catching him with my best friend. As I was beating up my boyfriend, my best friend was getting herself together so she could go. Like, where are you going home, girl? Our business isn't finished here, bestie. So I charge towards her and she's ready because she knows I don't play that. And she puts up her fists. I run up to her, she tries to swing, dodged it. I grab her hair and I drag her to the door. Not the bedroom door. The front door. Dragged her all the way out and kicked her out the door. I locked the door, then I went back to my boyfriend's room, cussed him out a little more, and started packing his stuff up for him. I tell him that he has one day to get all of his stuff and leave, or else I'm burning it. I cut my friend off completely because she did some weird ass shit. I don't know why she would do anything like that, and I wasn't about to ask questions because I didn't give a fuck. My boyfriend was over there trying to beg me to stay, trying to say he was sorry, and I just was not having it. So I cut them both off. Girl, the hairstyles and diddly wasn't that good. It was not that good to keep them around. Fuck 'em.
Story time about how my girlfriend is addicted to lip fillers, so now she looks ugly and I want to break up with her, but I don't know how. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I sent me on Instagram. My girlfriend and I have been together for 2 years. During that time, she's been obsessed with having bigger and bigger lips. When we first met, her lips weren't that thin, but she started watching the Kardashians and pretty much wanted to look like all the models she followed on Instagram. She asked me what I thought about her getting lip filler, and I told her she could do whatever she wants, as long as it didn't change her face. She asked her whole family, but her sisters didn't want her to get the lip filler. They had a feeling that she would get addicted to it, so they told her not to. I thought they were just overreacting, but I was wrong. Last year, she went on a work trip to New York, and while she was there, she secretly got lip filler without telling me or her entire family. She sent me a picture of her new lips, and they actually looked pretty good. It wasn't too exaggerated, they just looked a little bit more plump. But after a few days, she decided to go back and get more lip filler. She said they didn't look big enough and that she just wanted a little bit more. I asked her to wait and not get the second injection, but she ended up doing it anyway. After her second injection, I asked her to send me pictures, but she wouldn't. She said she wanted to surprise me in person. I went to pick her up at the airport and her lips looked really big. She told me that the swelling would go down and that they would look a little bit more normal. Up until this point, I thought she looked really good. They were plump and it was actually really nice to kiss her. A few months later, she brought up the topic again. She told me she needed to even them out on one side, so she found another clinic to go to. They injected her with a lot more than she was expecting, so her lips looked really big. When she turned to the side, she looked like a duck. I started not wanting to kiss her and she noticed. I felt really bad for not wanting to kiss her, but every time I did, I could just feel the filler. It felt fake on my lips. After a few months, she mentioned the lip filler again. I begged her not to get any more and she said she wouldn't. Around Christmas time, I had a holiday party at my office. When my coworkers and my boss saw her, they were stunned. They asked me if that was the same girl that they had met before. I was embarrassed and made up an excuse to go home. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how my girlfriend is addicted to lip filler. Now she looks ugly and I want to break up with her, but I don't know how. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It's sending me on Instagram. After my coworkers and boss noticed how ugly she looked, I was so embarrassed I decided to leave the party. When we got to the car, I decided to be honest with her and I told her the truth. I told her I hated how big her lips were and how they changed her face and that I was no longer attracted to her. Her reaction surprised me. She acted like she didn't care and told me that she was going to continue doing whatever she wanted to her face. Part of me had to respect the fact that she was doing what she wanted, but it couldn't be healthy to have lips that big. I asked her if we could at least compromise and if she could not get any more filler. That's when she told me that she had already scheduled another lip appointment. She told me she just wanted to change the shape of her lips to make them look more natural. I thought this was maybe going to help her look like her natural self again, but boy was I wrong. We didn't speak for about a week, so the next time I saw her, her lips were doubled the size. It was literally impossible for me not to stare at them. I felt embarrassed being seen with her. Now don't get me wrong, I didn't want to just break up with her because I did love her. I knew I needed to do something. After I saw my girlfriend, I decided to go to her house. I spoke to her parents and her sisters and they all agreed with me that we needed to have an intervention. When she finally arrived home, we showed her pictures of her before and her after. We told her that we loved her face how it was before, and her dad basically begged her not to get any more lip filler. But she took it as a joke and told us that we were overreacting, that nothing was wrong with her face and that she loved the way she looked. And she told me I could use some lip filler myself. Part 3 is up. Part 3 of how my girlfriend is addicted to lip filler and now she looks ugly and I want to break up with her, but I don't know how. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Send me on Instagram. After her family and I begged her to stop, she told us we were all overreacting and that I should be the one to get lip filler because my lips were thin. I knew she was probably joking, but I was so angry that she wouldn't take us seriously. I stormed out of her house and didn't speak to her for 2 weeks. She called me every single day, but I wouldn't answer. I finally gave in because I really missed her and we saw each other. I tried to look past her Donald Duck lips, but I couldn't. It's like her whole face is being swallowed by 2 pillows. She swore to her family and I that she wouldn't get lip filler anymore, but now she says she wants to get cheek filler. And I know that this is going to lead her to wanting more and more. When I kiss her, they feel so fake and rubbery. I even have nightmares about her new face. A few months ago, I decided to break up with her. But when I talked to her, I just didn't have the heart to do it. I feel like she's going to convince me to stay with her. So I've basically been avoiding her for the past months. Anytime she wants to hang out, I just make excuses. Her sister called me and told me that my girlfriend thinks I'm cheating on her. But I told her I was no longer attracted to her with her big ass lips. Her sister told me that she understood, but that I needed to break up with her face to face. I've written a letter basically saying that I love her, but I can no longer see her the same. But I can't bring myself to giving it to her, much less saying it to her face. I'm hoping you guys can help me out and give me some advice. She wants us to go on a couples trip together, but I'm afraid I'm just gonna stare at her lips all day. I told her I couldn't go on the trip because of work, but that's not true. I feel like maybe starting to act like a bad boyfriend is gonna make her leave me, which will be easier on me. But who knows how long that will take. I've always been such a loyal boyfriend, but I can't take this anymore. I signed up to Bumble and I've been talking to other girls. I'm tempted to go on dates, but I can't bring myself to doing it. Not until I break up with her. But maybe the easier option will be to make her believe that I am cheating on her so that she can break up with me. I feel like such an asshole for saying this, but am I the asshole? Should I stay with her no matter what? Or should I leave her? What should I do?
I was in Bloomingdale's today and happened to end up next to 2 teenage girls while shopping. One of the girls had picked out a pair of very expensive boots and they were fawning over them. The second girl must have looked at the price tag and asked the boots girl if she's really going to spend that much on boots. Girl with the boots said something along the lines of, "It's fine, I have my dad's credit card, I'm not paying." Which instantly caught my attention because that's not her card. I told my son multiple times he's never allowed to use my card, so I'm interested to see how this girl thinks she's gonna get away with fraud, but I had to split up from the girls at this point because they had found something else. We ended up at the same register, me behind, and I see her total hit well over 4 digits. The girl is about to swipe her card when I decide that I can't let her get away with something like this, and someone has to parent this kid if no one else will. I tell the cashier that isn't her card but her father's, and I'm not sure if she has permission. The girl and friend turn to glare at me, giving me possibly the dirtiest look I've ever seen. I swear this girl was going to throw a tantrum right there. I don't think she was ever told no. The girl tells the cashier that her father gave her the card to shop with because it's his store's credit card and he gives him points. Now that I've pointed out that it wasn't hers, the cashier tells her that she can't use that card. The girl tries to show the ID to prove that they have the same last name. Yeah, that'll help. And I tell her that it's still fraud. The girl said it's not fraud because she has permission and tells me to mind my own business. I tell her that it is my business, that she's doing something illegal and she needs to pay with her own card or I'll call the cops. The girl is pissed now and people are glaring at me. She uses her own card and leaves crying. The cashier looks mad at me and I tell my husband when I get home only for him to agree that I was in the wrong. Am I the asshole for telling the cashier that it wasn't the girl's credit card?